Good morning, good day, good evening, good night, wherever and whenever you're listening to this. Welcome to the Bitaxe Townhall. I'm One Clue, your host, and I'm happy to be here together with you on the Town Hall number 59. Just first things first, for the people who are new in here and have never listened to any of these town halls, it's been recorded and uploaded later on to all sorts of podcast platforms. So these town halls are for the people to come in, join, ask questions, whatever you want. You do have a chat functionality here in Discord. And if you want to raise your hand and come up on stage, we also can do that. Just be aware about the fact that your voice will be recorded and uploaded later on. With that out of the way, let's quickly talk about the things that are going on and that will be going on in the future as well. So, yesterday, we released the latest beta version for ESP Miner. So, the release for the next version 2.14, is more or less imminent. There are some tests going on, as well as I think it is kind of good to talk about what will be happening with OSMU in the future as well. Some of you might have heard it or read it somewhere here or there, that we are now creating a forum. And I want to talk about this again. We talked about this on the last town hall. And I want to make sure that as many people just know what's going on. So last town hall, I spoke about the thing that Discord itself is a nice platform to come together, have a chat, whatever. It is great, but it lacks one imminent feature that is the whole purpose of Open Source Miners United, which is making sure that we can share as much information as possible. Sure, we could argue there's the OSMU wiki, and I'm trying my best on keeping it up to date. But as you do see, yeah, it is sometimes a little bit outdated. Things are missing, whatever. So it is a little bit of a hackmack to do that. And Discord itself has the issue of it's more or less a private server. Basically, everybody can join. There is no restriction or anything else apart from just clicking on, hey, I read the rules and I know what's going on here. But the problem with Discord is it is just in Discord. There's like, unless you post your findings or anything else, there is no way for other people around or outside of this cosmos in the Discord of OSMU to know what's going on. And we want to change that. And therefore, we have created a forum. We are utilizing the Discourse open source software for this. And under the link osmu.xyz, you can already go there. The forum has been set up. I'm still in the process of creating here and there some first topics to talk about. But the whole idea about the Discourse forum is that we make sure that it doesn't matter where you are, what you are, if you have Discord or not. Everybody can just go on this web page. And if you just want to consume and read about certain topics, you can just do that. You can just go there. You can read about the things that are being exchanged without the need of having the software of Discord. So Discord itself, as I said, is being a nice thing. It kind of lacks the purpose that we want to achieve with spreading as much as we do in the open source scene. So yeah, that is an issue, and we are trying to resolve that. And with that, our Discord server will shrink in size. It will happen over the next couple of weeks. So for now, I will not do any changes. I was just thinking about this for the past week of how the transition should work. So first things first, nothing is going to be deleted. There are certain channels that are already moved over into the archive, which have not been active for at least like 2 to 3 months. So it's not a loss to move them over there. But with more channels appearing in the archive section, you will see that the server will shrink. And the idea here is two things. The first thing that I just expressed, that Discord itself is not a good place to store all of the information that we do have. That is the reason why we set up the Discord server. And if anybody in the audience can just put in the link in the chat, that would be appreciated to the forum, so that that people can easily find it. Discourse as a open source forum platform is kind of nice. It allows us to, just have the things out and Everybody can just view it. Nobody is, as I said, restricted by the access of using Discord as a software. No, Adi, that link is wrong. It is osmu.xyz. That's it. The discourse in front of it is no longer there. But thanks for posting. So just to do it again, the link to the forum is osmu.xyz. That is the forum that we're going to utilize, and the hope is there that we do see more and more topics coming up and more people using it, because there are two important things. It is indexable, and it doesn't require you to have any other software than an internet browser. And those two things are not met by Discord. And that is the reason why over the past 3 years, even though Discord is really a nice platform itself, let me see. I'll quickly write it into chat. Here we go. It is not really specifically targeting the audience that we are. Like, we are, some people are developers, some people are just enthusiasts, some people are like overclocking freaks or whatever. But the majority of the people that use Discord use it like for gaming or quick conversations. But nothing that has been written there is in any way indexable, usable, or linkable by any other platform or web interface or whatever. With having an official forum that we're now creating, we have it. Web scrapers can scrape the forum, and other people can just copy a link, and then others can jump into it and read the discussion that's going on there. So this is hopefully the change that needs to happen in order to make sure that more people do understand why we're doing it, why open source in that sense matters, and why everything needs to be there. A really important thing also here to notice is, I already spoke to Adi about it, so Adi will have a mirror of the discourse forum. So we have one. I think Distortions also said that he might want to host a mirror, which is really great. So we're still getting into the nitty bitty of how to do the mirror properly and everything else. But with that, we have the option to, whenever something goes wrong or someone goes rogue or whatever, we just have the forum as a mirror at other places, and it could come back up. So that is really helpful in that way. And also using an open source software for an open source community is kind of neat. Let me quickly go over to the page and maybe go over a couple of initial things, because I already created a couple of categories, like for Bitaxe, for the entire nerd ecosystem, from NerdMiner to NerdOS to the hardware, the software. So I was trying to do a little bit of initial things. Probably we will need more categories in the future. But for now, I think it is kind of okay. We have like a general category as well, 3D prints, pooled section. Obviously, we need like a Bitcoin section as well. Yeah, but the cool thing about that is that we do have it just out there, and I cannot repeat myself too often here, without the need of using any third-party software or anything else, which is the main point of the entire purpose of setting up this forum. So I do hope that people will use it, will enjoy it, and will use it as a reference, because in the end of the day, the only thing how we can survive and make sure that open source in that sense that we are building matters is by making sure we're spreading the word what we're doing. Yes, it is already out there. People are crazy about all of the machines. Every developer that is here that has been done anything with open source tech, from just doing a little bit of enhancement when it comes to 3D prints for like cooling, over to creating their very own miner, to changes from software. I love all of that, but most of that at some point might be forgotten and not be referenced, or not even being used or seen by the people. They just see the product, they just see what's cool out there, and they have no point or no touch point of where can I communicate about this. Maybe there are some subreddits or anything else, which there are plenty already out there, but there's no like major forum or discussion point apart from this Discord server that would feed into that category. And as I'm repeating myself over and over and over here, I think Discord is, as the platform that we did use it in the early days of just having a really great and quick chat with other developers, of developing new things and coming up with the Ultra, with the Supra, with the Gamma, the first version of the Nerd Miner, or the Nerd X, I'm sorry, the Nerd Miner was out there before that, to the entire NerdOS ecosystem, the Nerd X's and all of the QX's and what else of crazy things have been built there. It's good for that, but it's not good for the majority. So yeah, that's the reason why this now exists. And if you want, you can go out there, you can take a look into it. I'm trying my best, as I said, of coming up with categories that suit what we do need. And if you want to create some posts or have some comments or questions, everything in there is like free to use, I'd say. Feel free to create topics. Feel free to have some questions about potential categories or whatever. There is lots of potential to just store the data so it will not be forgotten and it will not be locked down by Discord itself. So yeah, I do hope that this is a good approach. And let me quickly go back to the Discord topic here. As I said, nothing in Discord will be deleted. This server will not be deleted. What will happen is like channels that are not being used frequently will be moved over to the archive. And then over time, more and more channels will be moved over into the archive so that we shrink down the size of this server to, I'd say, 1 dozen or maybe 2 dozen of channels for general topics, but mostly just like general topics, and everything else apart from that should have then moved over to the forum that this can be used. It might be a little bit confusing, but as I said, nothing is currently changing. We will write both things simultaneously. I will do an announcement maybe tomorrow in the announcement channel and tell more people about the fact that we do have a forum and that we hope that people are using it in the future. And I'm just reading the chat. Bitmaker said on the same point, I also made nerdminers.org. Let me quickly open that up, nerdminers.org. He said it's not a forum, but it's a source point, which is great. And I have seen the page. I was already on there. I really do love it. It's a great platform of just sharing the information that's out there. So I really do love to see that. And with having pages that are indexable, that are usable, that are referenceable, I think we're gonna win in the long term with making sure that open source matters, especially in the mining ecosystem. So yeah, feel free to use it. If you want to create some topics, register an account over there. Currently, it's been hosted in the cloud. I do have a cloud provider with a couple of credits left, so I'm just using that until it runs out. Then I pay myself, but it's an easy server. There's not that much storage needed, at least currently, and upgrading these systems is super easy. It's so funny that you can just do whatever you want with that software because it's also an open source software, the Discourse software that we're running. That is the name of the forum. I think it's if you're just on the forum and you scroll down, you see it's powered by Discourse and you can click on it, and it's also federated. What do you mean by that? BSS is asking, can the costs be shared among people that are interested? Yeah, probably. But I mean, I'm just fair here. I have a bunch of credits on a VPS provider. I will just use it until it runs out, and that will probably take like 2 years or so. So it's fine. The server is not even expensive. It's like $12 a month. So don't worry about that. And even though if in the future we do need to pay more because more people are using it, well, then we can figure out in the future. I think for now, we don't need to worry about that. Yeah, that's also a cool thing. Hexbox is just writing, you can chat with other Discourse instances you peer with. This is correct. So Discourse itself has a chat functionality. And so everybody who does have registered on the Discourse forum, like OSMU.xyz, we have like two channels, the general and the staff channel. You know what? Let me just share my screen. I think that makes it a little bit easier. Let me make a selection here. So hopefully the people can see that, what I'm sharing here right now. So this is how it looks currently. On the left-hand side, we have like all of the categories and some tags. I was a little bit crazy with tags. I was trying to create a couple of them. But we have also like a chat, so a live chat window where people can write in and it instantly tells you the channels and the messages in this chat will retain for like 90 days. But as Hexfox is pointing out, if you have like other communities or if there are other communities that are interested or also into open source and we have some crossing points, we can open a peer to them and create a separate channel that is a chat window directly between them and us. So yeah, it is federated. That is very cool. And I do love it. I was just reading about this a couple of days ago because I set up the server, I think, like 2 weeks ago. Then I was spending 1 week getting used to it and understanding how the stuff is kind of working and what we need to set up, etc., etc. Especially like the registration point and sending out verification emails. It's cool and bad at the same time, but the ease of use is just amazing. I do hope that people can see what I'm streaming. If not, it might be a Discord problem. Yeah, whatever. I mean, in the end of the day, for now, I don't think there's any more to say about the Discourse forum, the OSMU.xyz forum. But in the future, like tomorrow, I'll make an announcement, and I hope that people will move over to it. Will start off creating a couple of topics, creating a couple of discussions. It's links to the forum somewhere. Yeah, yep. Distortions definitely. I will add some links to the forum, and as I said, I will do that tomorrow. With I do have a post prepared for what I'm gonna post tomorrow, so I do hope that's gonna go well. But yeah, apart from that, I think the next topic we can talk about or join over, unless people want to talk a little bit more about why is a forum needed and why did we decide for discourse, because there were other options as well. Like there were a couple of more or less decentralized options in the sense of everybody needs to set up their own client and their own node, and we need to have peers and everything else, kind of like Bitcoin or other decentralized systems work. But none of them was really fitting what we do need, especially the point of making sure it is reusable in the future. So even though, let's say in 5 years, the server, or I don't know, I'm dead and the server just gets deleted or whatever, it doesn't matter because the Internet Archive is out there. And the more people that use osmu.xyz, the more likely it is it's going to be stored in the Internet Archive. So even then, it's not forgotten, which is a good thing. All right, let me quickly drink a sip. Yeah, so I think the next thing that we can now go a little bit deeper into is the next release of the Bitaxe software, ESP Miner version 2.14, which is currently in the beta version 3. There are lots of things that are coming in. I mean, a couple of improvements when it comes to the web interface. One of the biggest one is the the change of the WebSocket API. So instead of using the poll mechanism that we had till yet, of like refreshing the stats every 5 seconds, etc., it's gonna create a WebSocket and it's gonna be live data. Like whenever there's anything new to broadcast, the Bitaxe will broadcast the new things into your web interface. So it's going to feel a little bit more fluent, more like ease in terms of usage. And I think that will be the one that people will notice the most. At least that's what I'm hoping. Apart from that, obviously, we have a little bit of resizable usability, customizability when it comes to the web interface in general. Like you can move around your hash rate graph, whatever. You can design it to the way how you like it, or you just have everything blank. Discord is not liking my stream. It's killing my voice. That's interesting. Well, I do hope I'm kind of understandable here. Okay, let's go over another couple of things that are changing. So I just noticed that we had an issue open from 2024 where someone was saying, hey, if I do change my host name, it's going to be applied instantly, but it tells me I need to restart the device. Sounds the same as last time for me. Okay. Maybe I just disable the noise suppression that was enabled in Discord. Hopefully now it's a little bit better. Yeah, I just disabled the videos. I disabled the noise suppression. I do hope you guys can hear it now a little bit cleaner. At least that's what I'm hoping. I'm just keep talking. So as I said, I was just going through the issues that we had, and we had an issue open from 2024. And yeah, it was kind of weird because the issue was stating that, again, if you do change the host name, it's going to be applied immediately, but it's going to prompt you for, hey, you need to restart your device for this to take effect. Funny thing, the device was never actually doing the host name change. So that was kind of an issue, and I just looked into that. So with the next version, that's going to be resolved. What is the host name? It's like the tiny name that is below the Bitaxe logo, and it's the name how your device identifies itself in your Wi-Fi network. So technically, if you only have one Bitaxe and you name your device Bitaxe, if you type in Bitaxe / in your browser, you should be able to go over to that page of your Bitaxe. But because it's not MDNS, and we want to implement MDNS in 2.15, you cannot do any settings changes because of course and whatever. But I change it now, so in the future with version 2.14 you can do these changes live. Well, kind of interesting to do that because you don't need to reinitialize the entire Wi-Fi stack. You just need to like rebroadcast to your DHCP server that, hey, I do have a different host name, and it's just going to do that. So that is really cool. In one of the last town halls, I was also a little bit talking about the option of doing, what was it called? Having the ability to like move around with your Bitaxe and reconnect to another access point that is stronger. I don't know why I have these stupid ideas, but I was working on that. Till then, it is not yet finalized. It is sort of working, but the success rate of a reconnect and a continue of the mining is at like 50% currently. So don't expect that to be implemented very soon. It's kind of broken. I need to look into that. But I think what is cool is Stratum v2 that has been implemented in the current beta version. So if you want to use the beta 4, you can do that. It is out there, and you can use Stratum v2. I think PMax did Stratum v2 in his last release, if I'm not mistaken, or the release before that. One of the last releases that he did, there was Stratum v2 implemented. We had conversations and talks about Stratum v2 on this Discord server multiple times in the past. There are pros and cons. People believe in that, or they don't like it, or whatever. In the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you use as long as you use the protocol or the implementation that suits you the best. Some might say, hey, Stratum v1 with just plain HTTP is fine for me, whatever, I don't care. Others say, hey, I need TLS encryption because my ISP is otherwise blocking me. And others are, hey, I need to use Stratum v2 because it's just cooler and whatever. Whatever you want to use, you can do that now. There is a implementation of Stratum v2 now in the Bitaxe as well. So you can decide of what you want to do. And I think that is really a nice thing to do there, so that we make sure everybody has the option to do whatever they want with their device that they're owning. And again, there are tons of changes when it comes to the general usability, not only in the front end, but also for us developers. We did a couple of improvements in how we do structured data, etc. We're also doing a little bit of changes in how we do apply or use memory, etc. So lots of improvements that are minor and probably not visible from the very get-go, but nevertheless really worth changes. I mean, what we have seen recently, which is good and bad at the same time, is an increase of people using AI agents to just submit a couple of solutions for potential issues they saw. And for everybody who's listening to the town halls and thinks, hey, I have a good idea and I just want to throw my AI agent onto the ESP Miner repository and maybe fix some issues, yeah, go for it. Nothing is stopping you from doing that. And if the pull request is good, it's probably going to be implemented. The only issue that we had, and Hexfox is probably now ranting in the chat in just a second, is that we had a couple of agents that were a little bit ludicrous and just spam PRs. Yeah, that was kind of an issue, and I think we're not the only project that is seeing that. A lot of people from other open source projects are seeing that. They have their good and bad beliefs about this. I kind of do see the ease of why to do that, but at the same time, being a man in the middle and just use a human brain before you do a pull request is probably the more ideal solution. That's what I would argue. It's nothing bad against using AI agents. It's just like don't let it do your PRs. I mean, the heck, you give it control to your GitHub. It's kind of crazy, I think. But you do you, whatever. So we had I don't know, like 15 or 20 PRs in a couple of minutes a couple of days ago, and most of them were just spam. Like, yes, they kind of tried to solve an issue, but they didn't understood the context. There was like an issue that was, I don't know, half a year old, and there was a discussion in there that was referencing to another discussion in order to solve the issue. And in the end of the day, with all of the discussion that was going on GitHub, there was the decision being made that we do not change the workflow yet. But the AI agent is not reading that, so it was just thinking, hey, there's an issue, I'm solving it. Yet it was doing it wrong. So please don't spam PR. And if you do, yeah, it's a waste of compute and inference, I'd say. Yeah, and Animal is texting in the chat that Linus Torvalds also has a little bit of problems with these AI agents. I mean, it's kind of crazy if you think about Linux, like how Linux and the stack around Linux is operated. It is really crazy, especially when it comes to security vulnerabilities and everything else. They have like a private list where you can send your vulnerability and a potential option of how to fix it there. But the funny thing is, people use AI agents to discover vulnerabilities where they do think they found a vulnerability. Sometimes it's true, most likely it's not true, and it's just an issue of the AI agent doesn't understand the code. But apart from that, like with Linux being like the most used operating system around the world, because like face it, Windows is not that popular. Every server on this planet Earth is running Linux, more or less. There are some Windows servers, but using them is kind of crazy. And the problem with that is that if you have a system that is that well used and you do have more or less the obligation to look into issues and security vulnerabilities that people do send you, then you have the issue of, hey, if I get 2,000 issue or vulnerability requests per day in, like when am I supposed to sleep, to drink, to eat, to even go to the toilet, to whatever? It's kind of crazy because even if it is like spam, if you're doing your job right, you at least need to look into it. Is it really spam, or is there something in it that might be true? So there is time of reviewing these things. And I mean, we are not at that place. We are not at this position currently with ESP Miner, and I doubt that we will be in the future. But it's cool to see that in other projects. I mean, it's bad, not really that cool, but you get the point. And I just think ESP Miner will not have this issue. But it's interesting to see that we already had a couple of these spam PRs happening. Nothing bad happened there. It's just like it's not worth checking them. But it took time to go into them, look them through, and think about if their solution is actually worth or fixing anything. Let me see. Did I forget anything else about certain things for the next release? Also, if anybody of you do have any questions, I mean, the people that I do see here in the audience, love goes out to all of you guys. Really shout out to all of you because basically all of you are just legends that I have seen multiple times in here. So I don't need to explain to you what's going on. So if anybody of you just has a little bit of boring time and want to come up on stage and chit chat with me, feel free to do that. Raise your hand and come up. Otherwise, we need to find topics because maybe we go a little bit deeper into discourse again. I don't want to chill too much about what's going on with the next release because it is kind of major. It is kind of insane how much we did. The last 4 beta versions are so many pull requests. Mutachum and I do remember it. In probably January or so, we talked about it that, hey, we need to make sure that releases are not having too many changes. I was like, yeah, you're right, man. You're right. We need to make sure that like it's not too much in there, and we do like sequentially increasing the amount of issues that we are fixing and whatever, but like keep it usable, keep it readable. Yeah. 2.14 is kind of big. It's a thick boy, I'd say. Let me see. Developer algos writing in the chat. Currently, general AI are useless unless you use them for basic tasks, coding, etc. Advanced context, reasoning are lacking. Military-based AI are a different ball game, and they are not available for the public. Yeah, well, I mean, AI has its good and bad things. I mean, it's kind of insane what you can do with them, and I think everybody of us here is thinking immediately about like how to use them for coding, developing, or whatever, or even like generating images, drafting ideas. But if you come up with like, hey, here's a tool, and you can do it and use it for whatever you want, and just give it the general public, I think then yeah, you can argue it's really a bad tool because if people don't know what the capability of it is, or they estimate that it has way more capability than it does have, and then it's gonna be a bad issue. I was watching a YouTuber just for fun. I couldn't watch the entire video because it was too boring. There was a dude who was having like 20 subscriptions to all sorts of AI models just to use them all simultaneously and figure out which one's the best. And I was just thinking, like, what the freaking heck? Like, why would you do that? He was not even reviewing that for I don't know, YouTube and what else. He was just doing it once and was sharing his setup. He said he's like an experienced software developer and everything else. And yeah, he also said in his video that he hasn't done any coding prior to 2019. So you get the point why he's a software developer. Yeah. anyway, I'm just saying people are crazy when it comes to AI. But the good thing is the ESP32 that's been used in the Node X devices and in the Bitaxe is not capable of running AI, at least not at an amount that is usable for anything. So no worries there. There's some crazy things going on with the Raspberry Pis, on the other hand. There are heads that you can attach to that to run like minor AI models. But most of the AI models really need inference that is really big. Like you need a ton of clusters, you need a lot of things going on when it comes to how many GPUs you need, networking, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, I don't think any small AI models are really capable or usable for anything meaningful. Let me quickly read BSS writing in the chat. Do you plan to get the code to be validated via AI to find some flaws? It might be a wild idea. It's not a wild idea. And I tell you why. Because like I created the Bitforge with Clear, and we have also forked the ESP miner repository for that. So Forge.os is a fork of ESP miner for the Bitaxe. And on my repository, I use an agent to review my changes. It is interesting. That is, I think, the most ideal explanation of what I think about it. Code-wise, I'd say in 30% of the changes or the issues it's finding, it is just garbage. Like sometimes it is recommending you, oh, you did a variable change there, but this is implicitly changing something over in a different header file and whatever, and the workflow is now no longer working, or you're now introducing a memory leak here. It is good to have some AI agent to quickly go over your changes, but I also had weekends spending on trying to reproduce a memory leak that the AI was telling me that I had. And I just figured out it was just not using the entire context. It was just stopping reading the file at a certain point, and then it anticipated that there's a memory leak. But it wasn't. So, yeah. Sometimes these reviews from AI agents are okay. Sometimes they're not. As I said, I do use it on Forge.os just to have someone to quickly read over them as well. I mean, I do have my testing suite for Forge.os as well, so everything is being tested before it's going to be published. Sometimes there are bugs in it, but that's the nature of doing the development. You need to have bugs, otherwise your life would be boring, I'd say. But currently, version 1.5 is out there, it's running good. It's nothing to worry about. One thing that I will probably do is also implement the WebSocket, because I just love it how smooth it is to use it. And I hope you guys will enjoy it with the next version of ESP Miner, with the version 2.14. There are some substantial changes. I just need to remind myself, because I think Chris was asking me that I add the version, the config for the 603, which I haven't done yet. I'm sorry. I'll do that. I'll do that after the town hall, so that it's gonna be in the next release in there. Let me see. So I think that is more or less it. Things are kind of chilly. I'd like to know what you guys think about the current market ecosystem. I mean, most of the guys that I'm seeing currently in the audience, you guys are somewhat out there. You have communications with people. Doesn't matter if you are like a reseller, a manufacturer, or just a developer, or just some average out there. But like everybody is telling or is talking currently about like how the entire market is stopping. I do have a friend of mine who's working on Amazon, and he's working in the marketing category of Amazon. And he just told me, well, it doesn't matter what you're selling these days, nothing is selling. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Is like the incentivize of people in general, not just selling, but general interest in different things, Bitcoin, equipment, talking about the topic, has that been found its bottom currently? I mean, we clearly do see it on this Discord server. If I think back 3/4 of a year to almost a year, there were at least 500 messages per day. I was not able to keep up with this Discord server. And these days, if we are lucky, we have like 20 people maybe chatting a little bit. So yeah, people are saying sales are bad, but what about the incentivize of like talking about topics, getting used to different things, maybe interest in developing things? Yeah, BitMaker is pointing it out. We're in a bear market. Probably. I mean, I don't like the association of like a bull market and bear market. It is a thing of the Wall Street, but let me read that. What is selling? A quick, fast reward, feel good things, fast food, anything that is a quick, feel good will always sell. Yeah, I mean, food is something that people will always need. But in general, I think the interest in topics apart from your daily food that you need on your table, or how to get to the grocery store or to your next gas station or petrol station, people are not interested in anything currently, which is kind of interesting because for the people that are interested in it, I just purchased yesterday the ESP32 S31. It should arrive in 1 week. It's the brand new ESP32 chip, and I I'm just interested in it, and I want to see what's going on there. Okay, let's see. Bitmaker's writing. I think it's time for the devs now. Most and better developments are made in bear market. Yeah, definitely. Bitmaker, I do agree with you. I mean, it doesn't matter what you are changing on your development or what you are developing. We have seen it with like UBitmaker with the Node Octex Pro, which is this improved casing, or other other manufacturers like IXTech coming up with the Node QX, which is just if you I don't want to be mean. If you put it down, it's just like the 4-chip version in a different form factor. Obviously, there's way more to it. It's not just like it's the same. It is same, but it is different, way different, because you can do way more with it. But I do agree with the general fact. It is time for the developers to come up with new ideas and everything else. And I think that is what's currently happening. We have lots of improvement when it comes to the BZM2 chips, as well as the general internal design, the block Bitaxe, and so on. So things are going on, and I think a lot of people are doing the same. Yeah. Also, development is taking over since other Chinese manufacturers are just keeping everything secret. Yes. Um, so that is probably a good topic to talk about. We, all of us know that whenever you do something open source, it doesn't matter what kind of license you use. Everybody will just use it, will change it. Um, and unless you do make sure that these people have some sort of issue with it in terms of you sue them or whatever else, they will keep doing it. And even after that, they just open a different company and do it again. So fighting that is really a weird fight. The thing that I just noticed over the past 3 years, working on OSMU, the Bitaxe project, and everything else, is that it doesn't matter what you do, there will always be these people that will just take. And on one hand, I'm kind of proud about it because what we built here is working. The only thing that is nagging on me, obviously, is what Bitmaker just pointed out, that there are certain manufacturers out there that take what we did, do an improvement, and keep it as their secret. And we even had it with manufacturers who were generally interested in the entire concept of being this decentralized community, basically a group of idiots on a Discord server. That is how I refer to OSMU in the early days. But that's no longer the case. Even some of these companies that did really well in the early days, that were supportive, that were like, hey, we did this improvement, they stopped doing that because they noticed if they don't do it, they can just make way more money. They can charge whatever they want. And yeah, none of us is doing, at least I'd say from the main maintainers of these projects, none of them is doing a business where it is needed to do that. So it is interesting to see for most. I don't want to go too deep into that because then I would sit here in like 2 hours and still try to explain myself. But most of the people that are in Open Source Miners United or do understand what we're doing are doing it in a good fashion, and I do like to see that. BSS is asking, did you get hold of the 1373 for some tests? So I do have a couple of them, yes. But I didn't have time to do anything with them yet. So literally, they are sitting on my shelf. I have 10 of them. They're doing nothing. I don't have time to solder. I don't have time to have anything. I do have a full-time job, wife and kid. And I like to spend usually my weekends apart from doing the town halls with them. So yeah, it will probably take a little bit time until I can do some other things. Yeah, BitMaker is running the chat. He started a little bit of development with them, which is good. I mean, we do have this prototype Bitaxe with a BM1370, BM1340 chip, which is basically the same form factor as the 73. There are some discussions about what is the purpose of the 1340 compared to the 1373, because I also have a BM1372 chip. So now it gets confusing when we think about Bitmain. So the 1340, I got the chip ID. They are named 72 inside chips. Yeah, that is the tricky and weird thing. So there are BM1340s, there are BM1372s and 73s, as well as a 71, but I only have pictures of the 71. The 71 was probably the first try, because usually what Bitmain does is, if you think about the naming scheme they developed over the years, there is more or less some logic to it. Not really that much, but especially with the 70 error, I'd like to call it that, we do see the 71 was a chip that I only saw in a picture. I mean, it could have been made with AI, but it was like a really shitty picture, and yeah, I don't know. The 72 chips, I do have some of them. I have also a couple of the 73 chips. Both of them do exist. And my personal opinion would be, I don't know if that is true, is they tried it with the 71. Something was not really quite well working on that. So they switched over to different design. They changed a couple of things. Here we go. We have the 72 chip design idea. Something was not really working that great on it. So now we do have the 1373, which is supposedly the one that goes into the water-cooled version, as well as probably on an air-cooled version. The 1340 that we also do have is was the initial idea of this goes into the air-cooled version, but then Bitmain scraped the idea of selling the air-cooled version. Then in Vegas, that was kind of interesting. I was talking with the, what was his name? I do have his card somewhere. I was talking to someone of Bitmain, and I was going back and forth about the weird naming scheme of the ASIC chips and everything else, and he was just laughing at me. But then I just said, well, it's a shame that Bitmain just scraped the air-cooled version. And he was looking at me confused and was like, why do you say that? It's like, well, Bitmain stated it on their website that they're gonna retract from the air-cooled version. He said, no, we're working on it. So I don't know. People are telling you different things. Even the company internally is weird. Bitmaker is probably making the right call here. There's something weird, and there definitely is something weird. It's also, if you think about the naming scheme of the chips, so the very first chip that comes out, usually, is AA. So what does this mean? We always ask ourselves. Well, we thought for a really long time, this is like their performance scala. If you think about Intel CPU chips or AMD CPU chips, it's the same with them. You have like the Intel Core i3, the i5, the i7, now the i9, whatever. But basically, if the chiplet is the same, I can bet you like all the money that I do have that there's the same chip in it, just a couple of cores are deactivated because they're not good quality. And that determines if it is like an i3, i5, i7, i9, whatever. And we thought that's more or less the same with the ASIC chips for Bitmain, because the die itself, if you think of the quantities that Bitmain needs to produce in order to be profitable, it doesn't make sense to have so many different chips to try out. Even now, what we have seen, the 71, 72, 73, the BM1340, like it doesn't make sense. Like that is just to create one wafer of these chips, it's millions. And then having like multiple different of them. And you can these days, even from just some shady manufacturers or shady resellers, you can even now try to purchase the 73 chip from them, even though you can't use them because nothing about that is currently open source. And all of the shit show that's going on on the noisy platforms like X, Reddit, whatever, where people are telling you they crack the code. Well, unless they do ship out the product and everything approves, it's just spoken word. But it doesn't make sense that these chips are being produced without them being used. So to come back, the first version of a chip usually is AA, and then you saw something like BC, GA, PB, and we thought all the time that this is some sort of like quality control, same as with the Intel chips, as I just explained. But now it doesn't make any sense any longer. Like, why is there a CC? Where's the AA? Was the AA that bad that it didn't work out and now they needed to come up with the CC? And was just the packaging an issue, or is there a die issue? It is cool to be confused, I'd say. And BitMaker's writing currently something really important in the chat. I only got shares from 4 ASIC domains, but I guess it has 8. Yes. So here's the thing with the 1372 and the 73. The die itself that is inside is separated into 8 domains. That is what we do know. The initialization of it is a little bit different. And we haven't fully figured it out yet. I mean, if we would have done this, it would probably be out right now, but we haven't. So there's still some development going on to that. And the die itself is basically double BM1370 with a little bit of better efficiency. They figured out, or they just realized, hey, the current chip design that we do have is kind of okay, but we do have the issue of we have so much space between ASIC chips. We kind of need to find a way how we can put more hash rate into the same form factor. So what did they do? They increased the chip size, the die size, and yeah, that's what we're going to see now. So these chips are double the size, more or less, not equally times 2, a little bit smaller, but you do get the point. The die itself, technically, it has 8 internal domains, which is quite interesting. And the cores, I think we haven't done the calculation for the cores yet, but that's a ludicrous amount. The good thing there is if you do have an increased amount of domains in a chip and you just increase the size of the die, you create a little bit more surface, obviously for cooling, because you do need that. Probably otherwise it would go into thermal throttling and thermal runaway. But the overall design decisions that we do see there are interesting. And, well, there's not that much to say about it currently. The registers are still being looked for. And as far as I do know, nobody has a control board to reverse engineer it from them. I had a really good conversation with a Chinese friend of mine who then I just become a little bit rude, and I was swearing at him for 2 days because he was a little bit shitty to me. I was talking to him, going back and forth about the S23 and everything else, and he was telling me, hey, look, I do have a S23 hashboard here right in front of me. And he did. And I was like, yeah, well, send it over, and let's see if your contact can give me also a control board. He said, yeah, my contact, he does have a control board. It's like, cool, please send it over. I send some money your way. Like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I was waiting, and then he just replied a couple days later with the amount of money they want to have prepaid. It's like, well, show me some pictures of the control board, otherwise I do nothing. Like, what the freaking heck? He didn't reply for 2 weeks. I was asking, like, dude, what's going on? Are there any news? Like, are you trying to ship with me? What is happening? Like, I'd really like to have such a control board. And he just said me, yeah, he paid the amount to the dude who told him he does have a control board, and he got scammed by this dude. So, yeah, it is. I don't know what to say. Like, it is such a shit show. There are so many, and excuse my words, please. So if children are listening, please tighten your ears or whatever. There are so many bastards out there that are just greedy motherfuckers. It is insane. And unfortunately, we created the Holy Grail for them. So we see how this gonna turns out, but it needs to stay open source. So it's not gonna change. And I think everybody who's in here, who's part of that, can be proud about themselves, because just by open sourcing it, we can make sure that the ethos of Bitcoin stays up there. Let me see. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about or anything else? Otherwise, we talked about it 1 hour, mostly cool things. At least that's what I do hope. And I really appreciate that everybody of you tuned in here today. If we don't have any further topics, I think we can just call it a day. It's 10 p.m. for me, and I can enjoy my bed. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So Hexfox, this dude here, he created a solo mining pool written in the Go language. He also made already a post about this on the OSMU.xyz forum. So if you want to take a look on it, let me post it in the chat. That's his forum post that he did. I think that's kind of cool. Obviously, there are certain things that probably can be improved in the future or can be added to it. But for now, like, that is really cool. And Golang, I mean, I do read about Golang. That Golang is like the holy grail for networking stacks, etc. But one thing that will probably be a little bit more interesting, and I haven't looked into the code that you're using, Hexfox. Have you taken a look into YYJSON? The same thing that CK Pool, CK is now using on CK Pool, because it appears to have some improvements for like thousands of clients. Developer Algo, the answer to that is no. He was asking in the chat, can the Pogolo pool, can this do Stern V2? No, it can't. It's not implemented. But as Hexfox is writing in the chat, it's Stern V1 for now. So I do assume he will keep going on it. And I do love it. It just from the looks of it. I need to test it, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe I need to do some rec test mining first. Let's see, I'm quickly waiting for the messages in the chat. You're also using Sonic for your JSON parsing, and that's good. That's good. Golang is such an interesting language, I think. I probably need to look into that. Like, these days, I think there's nothing you cannot build. It's just like which tools you want to use for what you're doing. I use POC for testing against when making Go pool, among other options. Interesting. Yeah, well, okay. I think we just call it a day here. I want to thank everybody of you who was tuning in. I do hope you kind of enjoyed it. We talked about the changes that are coming with the OSMU forum. We also talked a little bit of the upcoming changes that are happening with ESP miner. And we also got into the conversation about different ASIC chips and what else is going on there, as well as like how the current market is behaving in this bear market and how the incentivize of the people is. I just believe we have lots of things upon us. There will be way more challenges that we never thought about. There will be way more interesting things coming up, opportunities and what else. And I'm just glad that we are here and trying to shift the way how mining has been viewed. And I do hope that people in the future will recognize that Bitcoin cannot survive. At least that is my personal opinion. If a third of its own stack is relying on proprietary hardware and software. So with that, I'm trying to do my best, being soon in Prague together with Scott on stage. We have prepared our presentation and sent it over to the host there. We will definitely talk about all of the different things that are necessary to talk about, why open source matters, how OSMU is even a thing, and why Bitcoin needs to be open source. And it isn't, for 1/3 at least, which is hurting. All right. I'll try to live stream that. Let's see how this goes. Till then, I thank everybody for tuning in and hopefully see you again in 2 weeks, because on the 13th of June, Schnitzel will join us, the developer of the Doom eggs. He's working on Mujina and the Libre board, and he's working on the Libre board, and Ryan is doing Mujina. So it's a ton of things going on there. And Schnitzel will join us on stage, and we will talk about the Doom eggs and how development with an open source control board is working. So till then, see you again in 2 weeks, and thanks for joining.